The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain right, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up and fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like a fight that you're your champion.
All right, welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you can join us tonight. We have got a full show. We have got so much to talk about. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through it all with the time that we have. However, this is the second show that we have 2 hours. Armed Alabama is now a 2-hour show, and we're excited to be here with you. We've got, like I said, we've got so much to talk about. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with retired Judge Rusty Johnston, and I'm Adam Strange, NRA law enforcement firearms instructor. I also hold 11 different firearms certifications, just so you know who I am.
And I'm Judge Rusty Johnston, retired circuit judge, conservative political activist, and announcing to you our special topic tonight. Like we did in Missouri the other day, our topic is, has the war on police begun? And if you're listening to us, you're not at the July 12th March Against Racist Police Terror that's taking place downtown by the loony left. And no kidding, that's downtown. And the U.S. Attorney's Office and some of the federal offices downtown closed down because of this march. So obviously it's not necessarily a peaceful rally as they describe it. Of course, how many of them have been peaceful?
There's certainly not a lot of them.
They're really not. One thing about the show, let's let everybody know that if you're looking for all things considered, you've tuned to the wrong channel. You'll get no PC here, no Marxism. If you're one of those delicate flowers that get offended by any little thing you hear, turn the channel off. And if you're out there expecting to be coddled because you're offended by talk about carrying guns, shooting guns, training with guns, that's something more for PBS, which I don't even know what channel you would go to listen to PBS anymore. We take calls and text at the station here, which is 251-343-0106. That's 251-343-0106 at FM Talk 1065.
And be sure and check us out on the web. Our website is armedalabama.com. Of course, Facebook, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, and then we're on Twitter. So we'd like to hear you, like to hear your opinions or see your opinions on Facebook or on Twitter. So be sure and hit those up. Also, we have a YouTube channel, and you can go to our YouTube channel and you can listen to all our previous broadcasts. We have those on our YouTube channel. Also, you can hear them on our website. So if you missed our previous shows, you can listen to them anytime at your leisure on our website. I couldn't tell you how many people tell me that, you know, they missed the show, they don't have an opportunity to hear it because they're not in their car or whatever, and they go during work hours, you know, while they're listening to the radio, listen to their headphones and stuff, and they listen to our show at their leisure. So that's pretty cool. Technology is amazing.
And they're downloadable on the website.
Yes. So you can hear all our previous shows.
one place or the other. Now, YouTube, we're a little behind. I finally figured out how to properly use Adobe Premiere Elements. I got that down, and I've got on some of the Facebook sites, I've got the different downloads from that and cleaned them up. But there's a steep learning curve with that, I'll tell you.
And we have a lot of new people that's listening to our show, and so if you don't know what the show is about, we're talking about your Second Amendment rights, U.S. law, Alabama law, Mississippi, Florida, because we have such a large listening area. And of course, we talk about self-defense, firearm and ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, training, proper range etiquette, and, of course, again, the law, which the judge makes great comments on and has in-depth knowledge of.
You know, one thing I told our friends over at the Socialist Alternative website, I said, it's funny, everybody is an expert on the law, the Constitution, and firearms. And they should be an expert on the Constitution. When it was written, they were supposed to be. It was supposed to be written in everyone's language so they can understand it. Unfortunately, what the federal courts have done over the past, especially 50 to 75 years, have made it as complicated as a hydrogen bomb. And it's just, you know, it seems pretty simple. They have, for instance, we have the contracts clause in there. Nothing shall be done that shall impair the right of contracts. But back in the 30s, during the Depression, some state courts started passing laws, placing moratoriums on paying back your mortgage. Well, that's impairing a contract. And so the bank sued, and ultimately the Supreme Court says, well, we're not going to pay attention to that anymore. So they invalidated the contracts clause, which our forefathers wrote into the Constitution. And believe me, that's not the only thing they've invalidated or expanded upon.
Judge, you stated earlier when we first came into the show that is there a war on police?
Right.
And it just definitely seems that way. Here in Mobile and Mobile County, we have Chief Barber and his officers, and of course we'll have the sheriff and his officers as well. They do an amazing job, and we're glad to have them. And when you're out and about and you see these officers, and of course you see Chief Barber or the sheriff, make sure that you let them know how much you appreciate the job that they're doing.
Well, that's right. And, you know, I've looked through, if anybody wants the real facts, you know, the Washington Post is a left-wing newspaper, and they hired a research group to study all police, compile them and study them 2015 through 2016, and it's ongoing. You would be amazed just about everyone who is killed, and so far this year, I think there have been 123 blacks killed by police, almost twice that number of whites, and almost all of those are black males, and almost everyone has been killed resisting arrest of some type. And, you know, so it's pretty simple. If you don't want to have a problem, don't resist arrest. And don't greet the police with an FU when they stop you. I mean, that's fairly common. And one of our city council members, Councilman Manzi, said every Sunday he preaches love and devotion and all. How about preaching respect for the law and respect for the police? And that would save some lives. Because I don't think the love part is working too well, unless love to them or him is sexuality. And in that case, it's really working. But just, yes, sir. And don't try to get away.
We already have our phone lines are already lit up, but we're about to go to break here in a little bit. So we'll catch some of these phone calls after we go into break. But if you want to have your opinion and voice on the air, you want to text us 251-343-0106. We'll be right back.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time. Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at Remax Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you.
And I will
kill you.
And we're not a nightmare for anybody like you. This is Rusty Johnston on Armed Alabama. Let me give you one more statistic before we go to our phone. This is from the FBI, and not from Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., because he and his Mustang have been out of commission a long time. Black Americans make up 13% of the population. When you look at police officers who have been killed by blacks, and this is over a 10-year period, I'm going to give you the site where you can go to. 100% of the time, black males who've committed the crime, black females never commit the crime, one or two do. Thus, black males make up 6.5% of the population of the United States, yet they are responsible for, over a 10-year period, 43% of the felonious killings of police officers during the period 2004 through 2013. And that's just an incredibly out of proportion percentage that they ought to be. And the site, go to www.fbi.gov, and you can look for start at the 2013 tables, crime tables, and you can go from this. It's real easy to find. But, you know, one thing we've got to remember, this whole thing has been building since, remember when the police officers arrested Professor Henry Louis Gates about 6 months after President Obama, and the president jumped into that and made a racial situation out of it. The man was trying to break into his own home, granted, but he didn't have an ID. It was dark, and he was trying to pry a window open, and the police stopped him and questioned him. I mean, they ought to do that. But Obama made it into a racial issue, and that's the origin of the current war on police. And, you know, everybody, and that's whites, blacks, Asians, Hispanics, whoever, that have either mistakenly believed or they've gone along with, humored this whole Black Lives Matter nonsense, they've got blood on their hands because they've emboldened this lie. And anybody who had half a brain could look it up and see that if blacks are being assassinated by police, the police are doing a pretty poor job of it, because you don't go to a convenience store in a black neighborhood and wrestle a 36-year-old black man like in Louisiana in front of 30 people with cell phone cameras and shoot him. I mean, that's a pretty stupid way to assassinate somebody. But, you know, everybody needs to cut it out. This march tonight is still in support of a theory that has been shot down. It's a big hoax, but yet everyone perpetrates it. And, from the president, I don't care whether you're the president of the U.S. or the president of the Junior League, we need to all speak out anytime somebody mentions it and say, it's a hoax. It's not happening. Proportionally, a young black male, 18 through 36 is normally the age, is more likely to be killed by someone in their own neighborhood than by a police officer. So we all need to push that narrative, and maybe that'll get through to people, because what's happening now is this stupid narrative is stirring up more hatred towards police. And you know what? There's going to be a point where the police are just like some of the pizza places, just stop going in some of the higher crime parts of town. And that hurts the majority of people, like the little old lady who has to lock herself into her apartment because she's frightened.
That's a good point. We're going to go now to the calls. We got several calls, so we just want to kind of go boom, boom, boom right through them. So the first phone call we've got is Aaron. Aaron, welcome to Armed Alabama. What's your question tonight?
Congratulations on going to 2 hours. Glad to see
Thank you.
that happen.
Thank you, Aaron.
And second question I had is the next training session y'all are going to have. Share that, or when will that come up?
Yes. Thank you for the question. That's a good point. We are working on that right now. It's just hard during the summertime, travel, business, and everything in our schedule. So we are taking steps to try to nail those schedules down, and we will absolutely announce that on the air, and we will announce it on our website.
But Aaron, send both me and Adam an email, because we keep a file of people interested. My email is thejudge@armedalabama.com, and he is adam@armedalabama.com. And what I do is print out the email, and we got it in a file, and of course we'll announce it, but you've kind of got priority for that, and say it'll be me and my son or whatever.
So we'll be announcing something soon, and of course if you email us, we'll definitely put you on our email contact list.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much for your question. Next caller is Carl.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. I had a quick question. I wondered if you were aware of any type of response by the NRA with regard to the person in Minnesota that was killed in the officer-involved shooting, the one that had the concealed carry permit and obeyed the officer's instructions and lost his life. I wondered what your position was and if the NRA has a position on it.
I've been looking. Of course, they've got 8 websites or whatever it is. I've been looking, and I haven't seen any response at all about any of this. They have been strangely silent from, remember when there was the news, I mentioned it here, that they might be entering a deal to go along with, if you're on the no-fly list, you can't buy a firearm. There was kind of uproar about that. And then they have been talking about kind of irrelevant things. So, no.
Yeah, and I'm afraid, that happens. You hear stories or read stories.
There was one, I would contend, worse than that in Las Vegas. I don't know if you recall it, a guy who graduated from one of the military academies, and there's no problem with open carry in Nevada, and he was open carrying, and some petty clerk decided, you need to leave the store, you're alarming everyone. Well, then he calls 911 back and says the man's acting erratically, and the police come to the place, and he honestly has a cell phone in his hand when he walks out, and he is shot down. So, their mistakes had happened.
Yeah, and there was another incident kind of the same way at a Costco.
I'm sorry, this was Costco.
This was
Costco.
Okay.
But I was, in Missouri for several weeks last month, and there was a reserve police officer there, and I kind of feel sorry for him, but he screwed up. There was a fight. See, had the man not been in a fight with him, so it's not like he was upstanding citizen. They were trying to arrest him. But the officer thought he went for his taser, and guess what? He went for his gun and killed the man. And he just got a 5-year sentence.
On the topic of public demonstrations, I really hate that happened to the police officers. I really hate it because the guy that did that was a deranged lunatic who had been planning that for months and playing war games in his backyard and chose to align himself with this movement, which is questionable to begin with. But the point I'm trying to make is that public outrage over someone being unfairly shot or something is what this country was built on. And you can probably touch on the expression that people are probably familiar with called the shot heard around the world, where in New England or Boston, the people were sitting around in a town square and they were angry that the redcoats had come in and interfered with the fishing and shipping and put all these taxes on them. And they're sitting in the town square out of work, and they're kind of, mouthing off at these redcoats. And no one did anything violent. And one of the redcoats picked up his rifle and fired and shot a black man in the chest, Crispus Attucks, I believe his name was, and shot him dead.
That's really. Wait, our show. Let me interrupt for a minute.
You're
wait. Now, listen. You got to listen to me a minute. You're trying to describe the Boston Massacre, and do you know that all the British troops but one in the Boston Massacre trial, there was an American jury. They were all found not guilty. Do you know that?
And the outrage over that.
Well, let me tell you, there's a difference between protesting and outrage. And we have a government of laws here. The colonists did not. They were ruled by a foreign power. We're not. Peaceful protest is fine. But what I've seen, I haven't seen a lot of peaceful protest.
The point I wanted to make is that they use that incident to raise money for the opposition. They sold prints of the Boston Massacre, and what's his name? The sculptor Paul Revere. He sculpted.
Okay, wrap it up. We're hitting the break. Quick, go ahead.
Okay.
No, you go ahead. You got a few more seconds if you go ahead. Okay, we got to go to the next call.
Thank you, Carl. John, glad you could join us on Armed Alabama.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for taking my call. Great topic, the Boston Massacre. The British were defended by, I believe, John Adams.
You got it. And Adams' wife said it'll ruin your career forever.
Yeah. The point of my call is, with the exception of maybe Minnesota, and not a lot of details are out on that yet, but I'll give that as an exception. It's not like the police are pulling over Frederick Douglass and Rosa Parks on their way to the library.
There you go. Go.
They're catching people in stolen cars with stolen handguns, with stolen merchandise, who are resisting arrest.
Correct.
And if this is who the protesters want to choose as their heroes, then they're completely missing the elephant in the room, which is black-on-black crime.
And that's, like I said, if they wouldn't resist arrest, my father, grandfather were all lawyers. The first thing they told me before I could drive was, if you're ever pulled over by the police, it's yes, sir, no, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's common sense. You shouldn't have to be told that.
One more stat that was also came out from the DOJ is that in the past 45 years, African Americans being shot at traffic stops or by police officers is down 75%.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's 75%.
Yeah.
So it's not occurring like they say it is, and I find it ironic that all of a sudden this is the national debate, and how convenient, because no one's talking about emails anymore from Hillary Clinton.
That's gone away, hasn't it? We're up against a break. Thank you for calling. We really appreciate it. All right, we'll be back right after the break.
The song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're running down our country, man, you're walking on the back side of me. You're walking on the back side of me.
Dallas ended the memorial event for
running
five
down
police
a way
officers.
of life, fighting men have fought and died to keep.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
We'll look for a few evening thunderstorms tonight. Low temperatures will be in the mid-70s at daybreak. For Wednesday, partly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms, highs in the lower 90s. And the outlook for Thursday, partly cloudy again with scattered thunderstorms and afternoon temperatures in the lower 90s. This is meteorologist Dr. Boo Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5. A cell phone game, Pokemon Go, causing problems in Mobile. People looking for the digital character are walking over graves in cemeteries. Mobile Memorial Gardens has already put out a sign telling Pokemon Go players to stay away. A candlelight vigil is planned in Mobile tonight for people to show support for families of those killed and injured in the ambush on Dallas police last week. Concerns of Police Survivors Organization, or COPS, will host the event at the amphitheater at Cooper Riverside Park. It starts at 7 o'clock. 3 Mobile City Council members want to form a citizen advisory committee to look at police actions and improve relations with the community. Councilman C.J. Small.
The citizens, they have a right to question about, different acts that's going on also. All policemen are not bad. Majority of policemen are not bad.
The proposal won't come up again for another month. For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5.
Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
What a gorgeous day. I love coming up to the farm. It's very relaxing. Oh, look, Joe in a crop duster.
Maybe during the week. It looks like he pulls banner ads on the weekend.
Oh, my goodness.
What is it?
This is Jack Green with the Jack Green Insurance Agency.
You've got to call Rick Walker right now.
What is he doing?
Super Jack is doing flyovers.
You gotta be kidding me.
Lower your fixed expenses.
Letting everyone know that the Jack Green Insurance Agency is now part of E-National Insurance. They're a money-saving powerhouse.
Home, auto, workers' comp, all types of business insurance and commercial liability.
I think this is actually a great way to get the word out.
He is attracting a lot of attention. Look at all the folks out in that cornfield.
Same-day quotes.
You've got to get him back to the office.
We're on the way.
Jack Green saves you green. Call for a quote today. The Jack Green Insurance Agency in Mobile, 251-344-5393.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you.
I think we know who that is by now. Is Liam Nielsen. I think we figured out who he is. So you don't need to come on again. Welcome back to Armed Alabama. This is Judge Rusty Johnston. We welcome your phone calls here at the FM Talk 106.5 studio, 251-343-0106. Text also, or welcome. A factoid I've been trying to remember to tell everybody. Everybody knows the story, or at least the movie, of Black Hawk Down. And I may have actually told it, who knows. But we got new listeners every week. The violence that was perpetrated, and of course we were all cheering for the troops there, that actually started when the coalition of which we were part of, and the Indian troops, Pakistani troops were the first ones to get it, we started going door to door, seizing arms from the Somalis. And the average Somali wanted their arms because you had this thug, Adid, the warlord of the city, extorting money and everything else from people. And they went to the first couple of houses, and by the third house, the people were using the Pakistani soldiers as their heads to play soccer with. And that's when all the violence started. And I got that from a guy who's written a new book who was one of the helicopter pilots, and he was lecturing at the U.S. Army Heritage Center. And you think about it that way, how would we have reacted if foreign troops came in here and started going door to door, seizing our arms? Probably much more meekly than the Somalis reacted.
So tonight's show is there a all-out war on police? Some say yes, some say no.
Now, you put the all out in there. I said, has the war on police begun? That's the question. And if it has, what's the motive? Is it to disrupt the election? Is it anger at the police because of a perception that minorities are being mistreated? Or is the motive to disrupt the election? Or is there something deeper? I sure don't know.
It could be all of the above.
Well, it could very well be.
And, like the old saying goes, follow the money. We were just discussing that during the break, and hey, George Soros could be behind this. He's all behind a lot of other different protests and everything. So,
After our next break, the new Black Panther Party is playing a big part in this. And I assure Charlie here that I have taken a clip that there are no F words in their marching chant, which was difficult to find a 15 or 20 second portion that there wasn't, but I've got it. And I want the audience to hear their march almost a year ago in San Antonio, outside of it's the Southwest Expo, where all the electronics geeks go to. Everybody had a rifle, which that's fine. That's the Second Amendment. But they were saying, shoot the pigs, oink, oink, oink. When 10 more are gone, we'll be halfway there, whatever. You'll have to hear it for yourself. If that isn't a year ago signaling intentions, I can't imagine what would be. It's really bad.
So we're going to go ahead and take us a call. Carl from Theodore, glad you can join us on Armed Alabama.
Oh, yes, sir. And thank you so much for taking my call. I'm so proud of y'all for going for 2 hours. Listen, let me ask you something. I'm like 66 years old, and I've got some handguns. I've got a home defense shotgun. But today, I bought my first AR-15. Okay?
Good for you.
Well, yeah. Well, entry level Smith & Wesson, M&P.
And I guess to the left, are you crazy? Why do you need that?
Well, you see, here's the thing. I don't need it.
That's right. You wanted it.
I wanted it.
Right.
Okay? And that's why I bought it.
Right.
Okay? I think it was only like $700. I mean, maybe in a couple of years it'd be worth double that. But anyway, I didn't really need it. I just wanted it. Okay?
They're fun. Sure.
All right. Here's my question for you. I have a concealed carry and everything like that. I've had it for like a concealed carry for like 40-something years.
I know what your question's going to be. You can't conceal that gun, so you don't need a concealed carry.
On my front seat or my back seat, and I get pulled over for a broken taillight, are the police going to give me a lot of trouble? They're going to say, why you got a AR rifle in your seat?
No,
or something like
that. They may be startled at first, but as they're walking up to the car, listen,
you got a good story on that,
Yeah,
Judge.
I got a good story on that. I'm driving up to the country where I've got a shooting range, and I've got a number of guns like that in the back of my Tahoe, and they're not covered. And I've got a number. That's all I'll say.
Above 5?
Yeah, well, between 5 and 50. How about that? And I've got a police officer, his handgun drawn, coming at me, and I put my hands up and I said, "Whoa, officer!" I'm just going to do some target practicing today.
Well, okay.
Now, he recognized me, and he said, "Oh, Judge," he said, "I see what you got going. That's fine." Now, he would have said that to you. He just, he was startled by the number of guns, because I hear those stories all the time.
Well, okay. All right, let me ask you this now. I mean, if I'm not going to a shooting range, or maybe I'm just wanting to have this damn gun in the back of the seat of my car just for no reason.
You wouldn't even need a concealed carry permit. Normally, you have to have one.
I have that.
You wouldn't even have to have, though, for a long gun. So you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Love y'all.
All right. Next caller, Dave.
Hey, what's going on?
Dave, thank you for waiting. I know you've been online for a while, but so what's your comment?
Well worth it. I usually listen to the morning news show, but and I just caught your program. Listen, I wanted to not ask a question, but answer a question for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a retired Army intelligence officer, and I've been in law enforcement for almost 19 years. And I can tell you this: the question you would ask basically was, what was the overall objective of all this Black Lives Matter movement, new Black Panther Party, et cetera, et cetera? You're familiar with Saul Alinsky, right? Rules of Radicals.
Yes.
They're just, and you've heard of the term useful idiots?
Yes.
Okay, that's what these guys are. We're in 2016, and I'm not patronizing, we need to do a quick recap. We're in 2016. Have you heard about this outrage against police conduct? We haven't heard anything about it since the 60s, since the days of Bull Connor, and, when there actually was targeting of black citizens.
Right.
We can't, I fully acknowledge that happened at some point in history, but not within the last 50, 60 years, other than extreme isolated events. And you were talking about that you posited one theory that it might be to disrupt the election, and I'm going to say no. If you want me to let you get a word edgewise,
no,
I'll
go
tell
ahead.
you right
I
afterwards.
think it's deeper than
what
that.
it is.
But,
It is. It is, and I can tell you.
I mean, I know Soros is involved in it, so it's got to be deeper than that.
Well, I don't know if he is or not, but you said it yourself when you were speaking to a couple of callers back. Look at the history. We haven't heard any peep of discontent from the black community, because I pay attention. I read all kinds of magazines, periodicals, listen to the news, watch the internet. Haven't heard a single peep until 7.5 years ago, when the agitator and community organizer in chief started this nonsense. And you already said that. What was the catalyst? The catalyst that ignited this whole thing was a small fuse, and it started with the Henry Louis Gates issue, when he tried to break into his own house, and Obama, hit the panic button immediately without any facts or information and said that the police officer acted stupidly.
Yeah.
That set the spark.
Yep.
He set the stage. He's doing the same thing that these fraudulent leaders, and I don't hate to use the term leaders, that these fraudulent individuals, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all these other rabble-rousers, racial hate mongers, what they like to do is now they've stirred up a large element of the black populace into anger, into blind hatred and anger, which wasn't there 7.5 years ago.
Right.
And I don't mean to pontificate, I'll keep it brief. The reason is not to overthrow the election, but it is to divide and conquer us and to weaken us as a nation. I don't have time to go into everything about, but read Dinesh D'Souza's book, The Roots of Obama's Rage. He's got a lot of hatred and bitterness in his life, and it's not just against black people, it's against imperialism, and I don't want to go off on that tangent, but this is one element. This is his way of getting back, and he's using all these people for these ends. But the most frightening thing of all, not just about the racial divisions that he's creating using these Alinsky tactics, but one of the things, and you can appreciate this, I agree with something that I heard on Laura Ingraham program, is that one of the elements would be to try to nationalize the police force. Take away the autonomy from the state and municipal law enforcement decision-making process.
There you go. I think that's one.
That was it. Thanks for letting me thrown on and on.
No, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some of the things that the judge and I have discussed in the past. And Dave, you were right on a lot of different comments that you made. You kind of beat me to the punch. I've got a lot of different things about what you had said about Obama and inciting race. When you have the Dallas Police Chief, David Brown, and you also have another African-American, the Sheriff, David Clark of Milwaukee County, stated the exact same thing that you stated, and we'll definitely go into that after the break.
El Paso Police Chief also.
Yep.
But I think that has a lot to do. We'll be back after the break on Armed Alabama.
spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
Not available in all states. Whoa, what do you have there?
It's a Reese and Irvy's frozen yogurt. We just had our robot make one.
A robot made your frozen yogurt?
Yes, from Reese and Irvy's, the world's first fully interactive robot vending machine that serves 9 flavors of delicious yogurt with 6 amazing toppings. And it's available for an exclusive franchise opportunity.
Wait, you mean I can own my own frozen yogurt robots?
And make money at the same time. These robots are the future of frozen yogurt franchising. They can be placed almost anywhere and operate 24/7. Malls, theme parks, grocery stores, you name it.
A robot that serves frozen yogurt. That's revolutionary.
Exactly. Reese and Irvy's Froyo robots are taking the market by storm. No more messy yogurt bars, long lines, or do-it-yourself machines. Just delicious frozen yogurt in 60 seconds or less. Anytime, anywhere.
How do I get my own Reese and Irvy's robots?
It's easy, but you better act now. Locations and machines are going fast. Just go to froyofranchising.com and enter promo code 1111. That's froyofranchising.com, promo code 1111.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. You forgot to say please.
Please.
And that's Arnold in the Terminator 2, huh? All right, Judge Rusty Johnston here on Armed Alabama. I mentioned to you about a march by the New Black Panther Party in Austin, Texas. It actually was in May of 2015 at the Southwest Electronic. One of you folks that's kind of into that, Chase, you ought to know about that. They had a march, which they have the right to do, and they were open carrying. But most liberals would be shocked at what they were open carrying. It was AK-47s, AR-15s, riot shotguns, and they all had black berets on. It was members generally of the Huey Newton Gun Club. Now, here's about 20 seconds of the audio of that march.
Go to the pig is the big ass cat! Oink, oink, bang, bang! Oink, oink, bang, bang! Oink, oink, bang, bang! Oink, oink, bang, bang!
Oink, oink, bang, bang. It was so short because there were so many F words in the other section of it that out of decency I didn't play that. But it was, you talk about inciting violence, that was bad. Besides the fact, what if you had your child on the street and you're hearing the F word, every 5 seconds? There were probably 75 people involved in the march. And marching's fine. Closing down interstates is not fine. And if you're trying to get your father to the hospital and he's having a heart attack, you don't want to run into a closed interstate. And I don't think the officials ought to deal with that as lightly as they have been. Someone could easily be killed with that. Who is our next caller? Is it Chuck?
Chuck, yes.
Chuck, you're on the air.
Yeah, I heard you ask earlier what you thought the purpose of all these police shootings were, and somebody just said it earlier. It's obviously to federalize the police force, to nationalize the local police into the federal government.
Yeah, and, the Loretta Lynch, as dishonest as she is, I think we can probably believe her. She has made those statements in the past few days.
Well, I was stunned. I heard Sheriff Cochran on Sean Sullivan's show today, and I was in agreement with him until he started praising Obama's 21st century policing plan. That's nothing but a UN plan straight out of the United Nations, written up by a bunch of his Harvard, Columbia anti-American, and I was stunned that Sheriff Cochran didn't know that that's nothing but a subversive document.
Yeah,
and
we need to put together something for him.
Obama's 21st century policing plan. My teeth almost jumped out of my head.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, the Constitution and treaties are the supreme law of the land. That's what happened to the United Kingdom, how they got sucked into this European Union. While they don't have a written constitution, but if their parliament is supreme, but treaties are their supreme law of the land. They signed a series of treaties that, whether they deliberately knew what was happening, Ted Heath was the prime minister then, or whether they just were foolish, but the treaties then became the supreme law of the land. And by the time they voted to get out, 85% of their laws were being made in Brussels, not in London.
Oh, absolutely. I think Brexit is foreshadowing what's about to happen in our election cycle here.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
You know, Obama brought that guy from Oakland. That he had a cop-hating organization out there. His name was Van Jones. Are you familiar with Van Jones?
Yeah.
They scrubbed him. He was a communist, and they finally had to kick him out of the administration because he was too bad. But he was originally a cop-hating. I think his program was called Cop Watch or Cop Block or something.
Yeah.
Now, he was Obama's right-hand man for the longest time.
Oh, yeah.
He's still around, Van Jones.
Oh, yeah.
And he's behind all this.
I saw him debate Ann Coulter one time.
Yeah.
She is tough. But, you know, most of Obama's radicals in the administration, they clean up well and they stay under the radar. But Jones wouldn't do that.
Well, that's right. They went underground. The weatherman, Bill Ayers, and all his group.
Yeah, he said he had never met Bill Ayers.
Yeah, he was just attacking police was Bill Ayers.
He was just some guy in the neighborhood.
Yeah, some guy in the neighborhood who happened to, bomb a couple of federal buildings.
Just remember, Judge, they went underground. They didn't disappear.
That's
They're
right.
still in the Obama administration. Every single one of the weathermen.
Can you imagine a Republican administration that had White Aryan Brotherhood members in there that had killed people and blown up buildings?
But the Democrats don't ask any questions. They'll just accept anything.
Oh, yeah. Full employment.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, next call is Scott from Fairhope. Thank you, Scott, for joining us.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, I just wanted to ask, I'm sure y'all probably have gotten this a lot, but I own several guns. I have a AR and concealed carry and the like, but I was just wondering what kind of plan, if any, do you think the government could actually put together to actually come take our guns? Of course, not willingly on a lot of our parts, I realize, but what do you think the real, chance of that happening one day might be? And
I think it's ammunition.
Well, it did happen. It did happen, and the judge talks about that in our class and plays a little clip, the great
New Orleans
gun grab of New Orleans. Yeah, and that was during Hurricane Katrina. If you want to talk a little bit about that, Judge.
And Scott, what they did, or if you may know, if there's a great book, it's not a long book, it's called The Great New Orleans Gun Grab. Got to get it on Amazon. And the two authors' name, they're kind of French Cajun names, but, they relied on all of our natural honesty. And when people were leaving New Orleans, the police had roadblocks set up, and they'd say, you getting out of town? Oh, yeah, I sure am. Have you got any firearms in the car? Well, we just have our blah, 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 blah. Get out of the car. And then they'd search the car, and the firearms that weren't particularly good, they would turn them in. The ones that were nice never made it into the impound. And then the regular National Guard and the Army Reserve actually went house to house, breaking into the houses, taking the firearms.
With officers from California. I think there was some that we've seen.
They assaulted an old woman, Patty Connie, who was legally in her home. There was no martial law. There was no legal mechanism to force anybody out of their houses. They had no warrant, and yet they assaulted this woman in her home because she was holding an unloaded revolver, and she was in her 70s. So it happened once, but to get to your real question, in the future, I think what they do is they dry up the supply of ammunition by either taxing it so heavily nobody can afford it or forbidding the interstate transportation of it. And yeah,
Right.
there's some people that have, 100,000 rounds stored. To some of us, that's a good start, but most people don't. Most people don't. And so everybody's got a lot of guns but no ammunition.
Right. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Love the show.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
All right.
Next call. One more. Quickly, Chuck, you're calling from Mobile. Glad you could call in and talk to us tonight. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Fine. Great.
I was just going to bring up a article about a girl from Mobile, Kaylin Chapman. She made a video a few days ago. She's a black female from Mobile, and she lives in South Florida. But she is from Mobile, and she's made a video saying that the person that shot the 5 Dallas police officers should be a martyr, and now she's catching flack on Facebook, and she's trying to defend her martyrs. But she is from Mobile, and it's national news right now. I don't know if y'all know that she's a former Miss Alabama. I think from from 91 is what I think it is.
Where can you find the video?
News, but she is catching a lot of flack, and she is a Mobilian that's causing all these problems on Facebook and on Yahoo News and all kinds of other news media.
Yeah, we'll have to track that down. Yeah, thanks for the tip.
No problem.
Yeah.
I went to Murphy with her, so I know her.
Okay. Hey, remember
she's changed.
Remember at Murphy when the two kids filmed one of them knocking out the teacher a few years ago?
Absolutely.
And
in fact,
got a heartbreak coming. Remember who defended him?
Years, and I was an elderly teacher.
Yeah, and Fred Richardson defended.
It, and it was horrible.
Let me get this in for the break. Remember, Fred Richardson's the one that came to the poor kid's defense. Don't you remember that? We got a hard break here. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, but her name is Kaylin Chapman. She has a married name now, but if you Google Kaylin Chapman, it will pop up about her video. She has like a 2-minute video where she.
We'll find it.
Thank you, Chuck.
Stay tuned for our second hour on Armed Alabama. We'll be back after the break in the news.
Trips on LSD. We don't burn our trap cards down on Main Street, 'cause we like living right and being free.
When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in that cradle in them old cotton fields back home. When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in that cradle in them old cotton fields back home. Oh, when them cotton bolls get rotten, you couldn't pick very much cotton in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. It may sound a little bit funny, but you didn't make very much money in them old cotton fields back home. It may sound a little bit funny, but you didn't make very much money in them old cotton fields back home. Oh, when them cotton bolls get rotten, you couldn't pick very much cotton in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in that cradle in them old cotton fields back home. When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in that cradle in them old cotton fields back home. Oh, when them cotton bolls get rotten, you couldn't pick very much cotton in them old cotton fields back home. It was down in Louisiana, just about a mile from Texarkana, in them old cotton fields back home. In them old cotton fields back home.
we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. And I don't like it any more than you may.
Well, we're not just gonna let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Smith and Wesson and me.
In the chamber, this is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight.
All right, Adam, quit tapping your foot. By the way, I saw some of these radical protesters who said the "Don't tread on me" with the snake, that was the sign of Satan. That anybody that had that was satanic, and you can't talk to some of these people. I mean, it is like the alternate universe.
So, well, I couldn't help but tapping my foot. That song is there by one of our listeners. Buck Allen is a local singer, songwriter. You can check him out on his Facebook page. Buck Allen, singer, songwriter. He's got a good Facebook page. He's got a lot of good songs just like that, and we're happy to play that on our show, and we want to thank him for allowing us to use that. It's kind of become our theme song, I think.
Well, I think so. Adam, I got to get this in because maybe this explains everything. There's a woman named Dr. Joyce, I think it's Joyce, but her last name is Deguy, D-E-G-U-Y, and she has written a book after developing this theory that the reason there tends to be more violence in the black community is it's because of post-traumatic slave syndrome. And her theory is because Africans were brought against their will to this country, and that was, a bad experience, that the generation now has had that traumatic experience transmitted to them through genetics. And that's why they're acting up. It is post-traumatic slave syndrome. I'm not kidding at all. You can go to Amazon and buy her book. Now, if that is not the most nonsensical theory, it doesn't even qualify as a theory. It's just poppycock. But, some people have adopted it. I guess anything to explain away your own lack of self-restraint, let's go for it. But maybe she got a grant to do it. I don't know. More power to her if she did.
All right, if you have comments or questions, you can call us at 251-343-0106, or you can text us at the same number. We've had a lot of good calls tonight already, good comments from the judge, from callers. I just want to touch base with on one of the things that one of the callers talked about was very articulate and was able to kind of express what the judge and I were talking about before we came on the air and earlier this week. And he kind of beat me to the punch. And I want to talk about, we already mentioned their names, and that's Dallas Police Chief David Brown and Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. And I think, Judge, you mentioned one more African-American police chief.
He's the police chief of El Paso. I'll get his name for us.
So I just want to talk about some comments that each of those gentlemen made this week. I wanted to share with you. Judge Brown, of course, had a really tough week when 5 of his officers were shot down last Thursday night. He said today
he called Black Lives Matter a radical hate group. The police chief of El Paso, Texas, and his name is Police Chief Greg Allen.
Greg, that's right. So, to build on what you were talking about earlier, Police Chief David Brown was talking about the black community, and he was talking about some of these protesters. And he said, if you're going to protest and you want to do some good, how about becoming a police officer and working in your own neighborhood? He said, we have job openings. We'll put you right in your own neighborhood. So if you want to do something constructive, become a police officer. And I thought that was really good. He said he was running on fumes, and he spoke frankly about what he and his employees have to deal with on a daily basis. And it can be very overwhelming at times. And he went on to say that we are asking too much for cops to deal with in this country. We're asking too much of them. As Brown said, every societal failure, we put it off on the cops to solve, Brown said. He listed mental health, drug addiction, single mothers raising children without fathers, failing schools, dogs running loose, problems of the public has. We are expecting the cops to come in and solve it. I mean, you dial 911 for any issue that may arrive. And he went on to say that 70% of the African American community is being raised by single women, and we have to come in as police officers and solve these issues as well. Policing was never meant to solve all those problems.
No. The police were there to solve a crime after it took place, to go out and find the perpetrator of a crime, not to prevent a crime, not to do what they call a welfare check, which means I've been trying to call Granny for 2 days because I live 1,000 miles away, and, I'm not going to bother to take care of her. I want you police to knock on her door and find out what's wrong with her. Of course, she's been dead for a month, and, we get the police to do that.
So he said, get off the protest line and put an application in, and we'll put you in the neighborhood. I thought that was a good comment. And to the caller's earlier comments, I think I did mention Sheriff David Clark to him at the time. He called out Obama for race baiting, and he stated that President Obama is anti-cop, and his rhetoric on the subject has not been helpful. All the way back to
Gates, yeah.
Yep, to the Gates issue. He said the solution is not changing police tactics and behavior, but it's stopping people from making bad life choices, such as getting involved with drugs and gangs. Those things are going to increase the risk of a deadly encounter with police, Sheriff Clark said. No one wants to ask, where are their fathers? That's something I say all the time. Where are the fathers? Instead, we go after the low-hanging fruit. Too many people want to attack the police. Again, talking about Obama, Sheriff Clark said he should say nothing. Every time he, being the president, opens his mouth, he fans the flames of his anti-police sentiment that is sweeping the country in some of these urban centers. He explained that cities like Dallas, St. Paul, Baton Rouge are on fire, and the best thing that Obama can do is stop talking. With all he's done, he set the whole country on fire with his race politics. He should just leave it alone. And this was by an African-American sheriff, David Clark of Milwaukee County.
You go to YouTube and find some of him. He's on a lot of the talk shows. He's really good. I mean, and he can say what needs to be said without, I'm sure he's called all kind of names. The one problem is Well, he's just wrong. His statistics are wrong. And these radicals don't ever believe the statistics is the problem. They're always false. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. Remember our call-in number, 251-343-0106, and we'll take a call on any subject related to firearms. If you're downtown at the March Against Police Terror, give us a call. We got to step into a break now, but we'll be back on the other side of it with more text calls and questions on Armed Alabama.
Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org. If you own or run a shop or manufacturing operation, you use compressed air. That's right, compressed air. To run tools, lifts, pumps, the list goes on. In many cases, your air compressor is the heart of the operation. Now summer is here. Is your compressed air system ready? That's where Mobile Mechanical Service can help. A full-line sales and service Quincy compressor distributor, serving the Gulf Coast for over 34 years. Mobile Mechanical Service can analyze and service your air system, preventing unplanned downtime and lost revenue. Worried about that old compressor? Compare the advantages of a locally built Quincy compressor from Mobile Mechanical Service. Our service and warranties are second to none. Don't get shut down when the temperature goes up. Call Mobile Mechanical Service today, 653-6948. That's 653-6948 for Mobile Mechanical Service.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
All right. Welcome back to Armed Alabama. We're deep into the second hour, and we're so glad you could join us.
Adam, I've got an answer for, we had a question call in a week or two ago. It was about the 22 rifles that had a barrel with a built-in suppressor. Now, one of the companies that makes those is called Thompson Machine, thompsonmachine.net. But they do require, of course, the tax stamp from they're under the National Firearms Act, so they require the tax stamp. But they're pretty neat. And this Thompson Machine, they make all kind of other suppressors, for everything. But there's a Ruger 1022 that I'm looking at there, and they're fairly new. I think they came out in 2013 or so. But 22s. I've lost so much hearing from shooting. I don't need a suppressor on 22. They're. I don't know if anybody else remembers it. 22 shorts. We had a gun that fired 22 regulars and shorts. So there are all kind of 22s. There used to be, being probably 6 different kinds, but they're getting kind of scarce now. With the 17? What's that cartridge? The 17. Think of it as very popular now. I think I just saw it. You know what it is, and you're just not jumping in there.
I'm trying to think.
Try to save me. It's .17 something because it's metric. We'll find out in a minute. All right, you want to take a caller because they're lined up for us?
Yeah, we have a lot of calls here. The boards are just lit up. So our first call is from Sims. Is it Dallas?
Yes, sir. How y'all gentlemen doing tonight?
All right, glad you can join us.
Great. Sir, I have two questions for the judge. I recently let my permit go, my concealed carry permit, but I still carry a large hunting knife, tactical knife on my side. do I need to renew my permit to carry a hunting or tactical knife on my side? And I guess the second question would be what is the legal length in Alabama to carry a pocket knife, just a regular gentleman's pocket knife? And I'll let y'all go. I know y'all are busy and got a lot of callers, and I really
quick.
appreciate
How long was the knife? Your original knife you carried on the side? How long? How long did you said originally you carried a certain length knife on your side?
Yes, sir. I believe it was a big model 119 buck.
Like 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches.
Oh yes, sir. It was bigger than that.
As long as it's not concealed, you're okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, if it's concealed, I think it's 3 inches, maybe 2.5. For instance, it's illegal to carry, if you can imagine this, a Bowie knife concealed. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a permit or not. Now, how could you carry a real Bowie knife? It's probably got an 8-inch blade on it, 10-inch blade. How could you ever conceal that?
I don't know. Crocodile Dundee did a good job.
Well, that's right. He sure did. But it's no problem to get yours renewed, by the way.
That's not
a new one. You can get in and out of there in probably 10 minutes. In the pocket, I think it's 2.5. It may be 3 inches.
3 inches on your pocket knife?
Yeah.
To carry in the state of Alabama, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank y'all, gentlemen. And I want to end the call with saying, God bless Alabama and God bless the Patriots.
Well, thank you.
All right, next caller, Joe. Joe, glad you can join us tonight.
Hey, now this old Joe Abdullah.
Hey, Joe.
All right. Let me tell you something, man. Joe, that bumper music just got to go. Killing me, man.
We're working on it. I actually got us a new group of them.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I heard you a few minutes ago.
Why aren't you downtown at the memorial deal? Why aren't you downtown at the memorial or whatever it is?
Well, I was going to attend the vigil of Michael Moore, but I wasn't able to attend that either. But if I had gone somewhere, it would have been to the vigil for Michael Moore.
Well, it's pretty hot, I tell you, too.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get out there and get our hands because it's serious times right now.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little. Are you on a speakerphone or a...
No, I'm on the cell phone. Let me.
Okay, no, that's all right.
That's right. Man. Yeah, now let me get back to my subject matter. You mentioned earlier that you had I-10, AK-47 in your truck or car or something, and your buddy pulled you over and said, "Oh, that's the old judge there." Now, let me tell you about. You keep talking about perception. Let me tell you about reality. Now, if that had been me as a black man, and he pulled me over, and I had assault weapons and everything, what do you think would have happened to me?
If you didn't resist arrest, and if you said, yes, sir.
Hold on. Now, see, those cold words y'all be using. What am I going to resist arrest for?
Listen, let's play it like this. If he went up to the car and said, if he was polite to you and said, "Sir, what do you have all those weapons in your car for?" And if you said, "I'm going target shooting," if it was played out that way and you gave him your license, I don't think anything would happen. But if he went up to the car and you said, which a lot of people, listen, there are a lot of white, smart aleck kids that do this, "What the F are you stopping me for? I hadn't done anything," then I think there's going to be trouble, and I don't know who'd wind up dead.
See, that's a perception for you, but reality for me, I would have been detained, probably interrogated, until they found out where all those guns and weapons came from. See, until you dig your head out the sand and stop talking about perception. But to a black person, this is reality out here when they get pulled over by police officers. You know, Family Brand, that lady is dead for nothing.
You know, I never saw a case like that in 18 years where somebody had guns and they were just detained and arrested and charged. Just never saw that. I guess they, I don't know, kill them and don't even get them into court.
And another thing you guys be doing, y'all be playing the President Obama playing game. You cannot blame President Obama for the condition of this country with this racism and going on, man. He speak out against it, which he should. I mean, I don't see no problem with no speaking of God injustice going on. If you keep
Let me
digging
ask you a
your head
question.
in the sand,
Why after a bunch of gay people were shot, let me ask you, Joe, after a bunch of gay people get shot, why does he not even mention Islamic terrorists? And then he says it's all caused by people who have too many guns.
if you don't acknowledge we have a race problem in this country, a problem with police killing black people more often percentage-wise than they do white people, you're not going to ever solve the problem. You got to acknowledge the problem.
Let me ask you
before
another
can solve it.
question. Do you know that black police officers are twice as likely to shoot an unarmed black person than white police officers are?
Let me tell you this. 1 out of 1 million whites is shot by a police officer. 7 out of 1 million blacks is shot by a police officer.
I'm not going to argue with your numbers, but if that's true, the problem is blacks commit more crime if you hadn't figured that out.
That's 1,000 people that got killed by police this year. You don't think that too many people died at the hands of the police?
Well, let me ask you this. How many black people a year are killed by police?
I don't know the exact number. I think last year was about 300 or something.
Okay. You're actually a little low. It was closer to 500. Do you know that more black people than that are killed by bathtubs, either falling or drowning?
That's an accident.
Well, I know, but don't you think it's being blown out of proportion a little bit?
No, I don't. No, I don't think it's being blood. That's the problem, because y'all want to stick their heads in the sand and like the problem don't exist. Until you acknowledge we got a problem, you're never going to be able to solve it.
Do you know that compared to 20 years ago, the rate of police shootings has gone down, what would you say, 2/3?
Out of how many years ago? Since the point?
No, 25 years ago.
1 is too many.
1 is too many. All right. Gotcha. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Call us again. All right. Is it Alan next? No, it doesn't matter. Okay, Sue. Yeah, it wasn't lit up. Sue is next. Sorry. Sue, we about jumped over you.
Go ahead, Sue.
Hi, gentlemen. I just got a Walther 9mm a few months ago, and I've been shooting it. And it seems like I'm shooting it really low, and I want to get proper instruction. I live in Orange Beach, and I was wondering if you can recommend somebody for me here.
Well, we can. You're going to have to. I tell you what. Why don't you send me an email? Because I'd rather not do it over there. thejudge@armedalabama.com.
Okay.
And put your name and all, and I'll remember Sue. And because if there's somebody over there that we kind of know, I'd rather you do that than have to drive over here.
Okay.
Or,
all right. All right, I appreciate what you're doing, and I just want to say Blue Lives Matter, and that caller was absolutely ridiculous.
Well, we kind of know him, so it livens things up.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. All right. Alan, thank you for joining us. Apologize for you having to wait so long, but we appreciate you hanging with us.
Well, I appreciate you taking my call. Look, the reason I was calling was I was at my mom's this past weekend, and one of the subjects that came up was her will. And in the will, I'm going to receive a silver-plated .38 special that my dad owned.
Oh, yeah.
Or he passed away. When I get that possession of that gun, will I need a copy of the will to present to someone here to register, wherever I have to go to register that gun?
Well, you don't have to register it. Guns aren't registered in this state. No,
Okay.
Whether the will is probated or not, I just keep a copy of it in case anybody ever questions your ownership, like the New Orleans police did when they seized people's guns and wouldn't give them back unless you presented, some kind of proof you owned it. So just keep a copy of the will.
Okay, so I don't have to register,
No.
but if I want to get a carry...
The carry permit is you.
Would I have to go present it then?
No. Carry permit is for you personally, not for your weapon.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
All
keep
right,
a copy
well, I appreciate
of
it.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you, Alan.
Sure.
You guys have a great evening.
We talked about the New Orleans gun grab. That was a 1986 action on that, and we'll talk about that more after the break. But so glad you joined us tonight to listen to Armed Alabama. We still got 30 more minutes, so catch us right after the break.
I prove I'm right. I don't need to be forgiven.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
Look for a few evening thunderstorms tonight. Low temperatures will be in the mid-70s at daybreak. For Wednesday, partly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms, highs in the lower 90s. And the outlook for Thursday, partly cloudy again with scattered thunderstorms and afternoon temperatures in the lower 90s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5. A cell phone game, Pokemon Go, causing problems in Mobile. People looking for the digital character are walking over graves in cemeteries. Mobile Memorial Gardens has already put out a sign telling Pokemon Go players to stay away. A candlelight vigil is planned in Mobile tonight for people to show support for families of those killed and injured in the ambush on Dallas police last week. Concerns of Police Survivors Organization, or COPS, will host the event at the amphitheater at Cooper Riverside Park. It starts at 7 o'clock. 3 Mobile City Council members want to form a citizen advisory committee to look at police actions and improve relations with the community. Councilman C.J. Small.
The citizens, they have a right to question about, different acts that's going on also. All policemen are not bad. Majority of policemen are not bad.
The proposal won't come up again for another month. For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5.
If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
You owe over $10,000 in back taxes. You've called every tax firm out there. They all say the same thing, making promises they never keep, and you're sick of it. What you really need is a new start on your back taxes. If you're faced with garnishments, levies, audits, or years of unfiled tax returns, we'll fight to get you the new start you deserve. Call 1-800-266-1432. Our New Start program will stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS has in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. That's right, 80%. Don't wait until another tax season ends and another year of penalties and interest are added to your balance. If you owe at least $10,000 to the IRS and need a new start on your back taxes, call 1-800-266-1432. That's 1-800-266-1432. Let the professionals at Coast One Financial Group fight to get you the new start you deserve. Again, that's 1-800-266-1432.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
You smell that? Napalm, son! Nothing else in the world smells like that. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
It smells like victory. Robert Duvall, huh? All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Remember, you have you got a few minutes to give us a call, 25 minutes, 343-0106. And if you're just getting our signal, if you're way out in Mississippi or way out in Florida, you can listen to us on the website, which is www.fmtalk1065.com. That's all together, www.fmtalk1065, or at armedalabama.com. The live streams are going on in both of those places. Went down to McCoy's the other day, and because I was interested in, a certain product. Since everybody's commenting on what I buy, I better not say what it was. But, they have more stuff. It's not junky, though. They have more things in that store than I can really believe. One thing I was interested in was a good belt. Any open carriers out there, and I'm kind of ambivalent on the subject, if you do it right, if you have a retention holster, and I think that's important. And what a retention holster, of course, Adam knows, is most of the time it's a button, but it can be something else. A button you press, and releases the gun. But you need a good belt, a good strong leather belt, so it can't be ripped off of you. I think you owe it to your community, yourself, everybody, to have a retention holster and belt. But you can get any kind of belt down there that you want, and these are real leather belts, not junk made in China by slave labor. Let's just put it that way. And, China, well, I'll talk about that later. But you can get belts down there. You can get your holsters down there. And heard somebody comment on one of the boards, a police officer had a gun grabbed. Why didn't they wear a shoulder holster? And I just had to comment. I said, because you can't draw fast with a shoulder holster. You can get your strong side high-rise holster down at McCoy's. Buy your gun there. When you buy your gun there, you get 15% off one of our classes, and then walk over to the holster division. They'll fit you with the holster, and then walk on over, get you a good strong belt, which you need one way or another, because you need to be able to draw in 2 to 3 seconds. You can get the whole set up there, and you can try out 6 or 8 guns and get one that fits for you. Now, McCoy's is located on Spring Hill Avenue, just west of where the overpass goes over, the I-65 overpass goes over Spring Hill Avenue, and the old Kmart, Wilco Shopping Center, where they tied the old yellow ribbons around the oak trees when Falmer and Associates was trying to cut down the trees. And they're a sponsor of ours. Drop by and say hello to them, buy a gun, and they also have a gunsmith there, which are rare these days. Most people are armors that just replace parts, but he's an actual gunsmith. So drop by and say hello to them. We appreciate their sponsorship.
Thank you, Judge. From the Associated Press, Minneapolis, cops walked off a WNBA game over Black Lives Matter jerseys.
Good for them.
Police union official says 4 off-duty Minneapolis police officers working the WNBA game walked off the job at the city's Target Center arena Saturday after Minnesota Lynx players wore pregame warm-up jerseys supporting Black Lives Matter movement. Minneapolis Police Federation President Bob Kroll tells Minneapolis Star that he commends the officers. He says they took their names off the list to work future games there. So, they didn't even want to be a part of the game, and they didn't want to be a part of future games or events over that issue.
Yeah. And they'll learn what it's like not to have police officers at their game.
So if you missed last week's show, we had a good guest. We had John Skipper from the Mobile County Republican Party. John Skipper is the chairman there, and we had a really good show. And one of the things that we discussed just about the whole show was Hillary. Should Hillary have been charged? A little poll that I seen this week said 56% of persons polled said that she should have been charged.
Wow. Yeah.
So I found that interesting.
One thing to remember, I mentioned to you in the break, the statute of limitations is at least 2 years long on that, probably 3 or 4. So it can be she can be indicted and tried after a new president gets in. And so just because they closed the case, that didn't really mean anything. She still may wind up in the big house instead of the White House.
So who would open the case?
Well, hopefully it'll be maybe Attorney General Sessions would be the one to reopen the case. I would think a first-year law student could figure that one out.
Majority of Democrats, on a national stage, they're leftists. They don't want you to have firearms. They don't want individuals to have the rights to defend themselves. That's been put out over and over again. A 27-year-old DNC employee, Seth Rich, was shot and killed in Northwest D.C. this past week. So I wonder if now, since one of the DNC's own has been shot and killed, I think it was attempted robbery. have they changed their mind? But that would be a good question to ask the DNC if they had changed their mind or changed their policy or changed their stance on that.
They do stuff like that too. When it becomes personal to them, they will often go ahead and change their mind. They'll say something like, "Well, this has affected me personally now," and that is just, you ought to have a consistent belief in the personal issues just really shouldn't affect you. I wonder whether Dylan Taylor, who was killed by police some time ago, who was a 3-year-old white kid killed by police, I wonder whether there was a memorial for him at all. Just kind of interested in that. Actually, it was 2014, and he was killed by police in Utah. And no, I don't believe he was 20 years old and shot to death by police in Utah. So I'm reading the story here, and it doesn't appear that there were any mass protests by anyone. Amazing.
So, Judge, you and I have discussed several times about the increase in sale of firearms over the last several years. A lot of that is driven by people who are unsure or scared or whatever may motivate them. Firearm sales have skyrocketed. And one of the persons that are benefiting from that, and I mentioned this, I think, on several shows ago, but I just thought it was so interesting I want to mention it again. One of the people that are benefiting from that is President Obama.
Isn't he a sharp investor?
Yes, he has made significant investment in the Smith & Wesson company, which Smith & Wesson is worth right now $12.2 billion. So that's a pretty substantial company. And, of course, Barack Obama has made a pretty substantial investment within that company. So that's kind of hypocritical in my mind to be anti-gun and to preach that, and then turn around and have your investments within a firearm company because they're on the up and up.
Oh, yeah. Another just jumps out at me because I'd seen his picture the other day. Zach Hammond was killed during a police sting, and he's a relatively young white guy. And, he's actually a teenager, and he was killed by police. And it's amazing to me. Wow, what a shock, too. There was no protests, nothing over his death. 19 years old, yeah. So, and, he may very well deserved it. I don't know. Deserved to be killed. I don't know.
We have a few calls already in this last part of our show, so we're going to go ahead and go talk to them. Thomas, welcome to Armed Alabama.
Good evening, Judge.
Good evening.
Sir, I just have a quick couple of comments, question. First of all, do you think Obama is biased towards Henry and Colt?
Yes.
With his investments, I'll tell you, you're talking guns earlier.
We should have followed his investments.
But I had a Colt 22 semi-automatic Woodsman.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember. And the clip went up into the grip.
How about a magazine?
I think it was 9 shots. And I'll tell you, I could pick off chipmunks up north with that thing.
Yeah.
That was a nice little gun.
Yeah, I've shot one of those. Nice gun, yeah.
You had a caller earlier that voiced concerns about the government taking our guns, and I've heard this for 30 years, that the Democrats are going to take your guns away.
Well, frankly, it's kind of the NRA does that to raise money. So.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why the public is still asking that question.
Well,
I mean,
they have made moves to do that. That's the problem. And I think the real leftist would do that. I think Obama would do it.
Hillary Clinton, she's already stated that she would do it if elected president.
She said she wanted to make it so that she couldn't get a gun permit 3 weeks ago.
Me too. I don't want her to have a gun permit either.
But realistically, they can't take her guns.
Well, like I said, I think if they wanted to, they could drop the ammunition, and you could still have all the guns you wanted.
Yep.
Right. Well, I've had my father passed down a reloader to me, and I know where to get some.
But they could drop the
black powder and a bullet.
They could drop all that. Thomas, we got to go to a break. Thank you for calling. All right.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time.
It's so hot.
Man, it's hot.
It's really hot.
FM Talk 106.5 is keeping it cool this summer with your chance to win one of 8 Yeti coolers.
That's a lot of coolers.
It sure is. The most wanted cooler in the country can be yours.
I don't get it.
So here's how it works. Stop by one of our partner locations and register to win. Those places will be drawing names daily, and if they draw your name, you'll win a FM Talk 106.5 tumbler, and that gives you a 1 in 6 chance of winning a Yeti cooler. Complete details on Facebook and on FMTalk1065.com.
I just like it getting a little less hot.
Registered Red Wing Shoes, making the best boots for over 110 years. Mike Ward's Liberty Safes, lock 'em up. Hayes Jewelers on Cottage Hill Road, serving jewelry lovers for 35 brilliant years. And the Sleep Center, Mobile's mattress expert. You could win a Yeti cooler. Theft insurance not included. Visit all of our sponsors and keep it cool this summer with Yeti and FM Talk 106.5. Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Survival kit contents check. In them you'll find 145 caliber automatic, 2 boxes of ammunition, 4 days concentrated emergency rations, 1 drug issue containing antibiotics, morphine, vitamin pills, pep pills, sleeping pills, tranquilizer pills, 1 miniature combination Russian phrase book and Bible, $100 in rubles, $100 in gold, 9 packs of chewing gum, 1 issue of prophylactics, 3 lipsticks, 3 pair of nylon stockings.
Major Kong, played by Slim Whitman. If you notice, everybody had a name that was like we had Colonel Jack or General Jack Ripper, Jack the Ripper. We had Major Kong, K-O-N-G, and every name had some kind of play. By the way, the cartridge I was trying to explain is the .17 rimfire, and it's made in a Magnum and whatever, but everybody claims it's superior to the .22, and that's kind of resulted in .22s kind of coming down a little bit, drying up, and some of the .22s just stopping production of them, the 17 rimfire. All right, let's get our caller on here. Is it Thomas? Yep. All right, Thomas, you're on there.
Hello, Thomas.
Thomas, are you there?
Okay, Judge, you talked about earlier about you getting pulled over and the police officer coming to your car, and there's been some debate in the past on what do you do, what do you say if the officer asks, asks you different questions. There was an article this week in Yellowhammer about what to do when you're stopped, and the article stated the first thing you do when the officer walks up is you tell them that you have a firearm and that you're a pistol permit holder.
And I think Sheriff Cochran was on Sean's show a few weeks ago and agreed with me to unless it's in plain view or unless it's in a place that you're going to have to access. Now, it ought to be in plain view because you ought to be able to access it quickly and fire multiple shots at an attacker, very quickly, accurately. But if it's like most people, you have it, in the glove box, in the console, and if you don't have your insurance papers there, registration, out of sight, first of all, the law doesn't require it, and common sense tells me and a lot of other people, you may run into that 1 in 10, 1 in 20 police officer that thinks you're trying to play cop or I need to disarm you for your safety, my safety. He doesn't know the operation of the tens of thousands of handguns. He's going to pick it up and try to make it safe, which is incredibly dangerous, and he's going to spend a lot more time with you out there than otherwise would be required. The law says you don't have to do it. Why do it?
Right, so that's what you're saying. You're saying is do not inform the officer unless he asks.
I wouldn't lie to him if he asked. But we heard from one of our guests that there's no way to match up your tag with or even your license with who has a concealed carry permit. It would be the most inefficient method in the world because we know probably 10% of the people who have a concealed carry permit regularly even carry their firearm.
Good point. All right, we have another caller. Mike, welcome to Armed Alabama. Thank you for your call. Thank you for holding.
Good afternoon. I listen to these shows a lot, and I'm always amazed with some of the comments. But my question to you, do you think that when you have the election that the NRA and the gun manufacturers push more hoping that a Democrat wins for their sales purposes?
I think they push for whoever they've kind of bought off, frankly. Most of the time it's the incumbent.
I don't think that's right because the sales go up through the roof when you have a Democrat because there's so much propaganda about them.
Well, let me tell you,
the old "take their guns" line is that line is so far untrue.
Let me give you an example though. Harry Reid was in a real fight in Nevada, and they endorsed him for re-election.
You're talking about NRA?
Yeah, NRA. Yeah, Harry Reid was endorsed by the NRA. Couldn't be anybody more horrible. But their thought process was, well, he's the known enemy, but if he loses, then we've got Chuck Schumer as the head of some committee. So I hear what you're saying, but that's kind of a gamble. I think they like people they've dealt with. These guys in the end, most of them are all buddies. They're out drinking together. They're working for the NRA this week. Next year they're working for some other lobbying group.
Gay Nazis or something.
A lot of them aren't ideologues.
Well, I guess more so the gun manufacturers. Their sales have gone through the roof these last 8 years.
They have, but they're really not making that much money. The problem is, look at an AR-15 that used to sell for $1,400 and they're $799 now. And if you look at their profits, they're just not doing that good. But I could easily be wrong.
Is that from competition or is that? But if it's competition, it's a lot of people going in the gun sale.
They're just manufacturing a lot of them.
Yeah,
and they're getting bought.
Yeah, they're getting bought.
You got lots of different companies. And they're all selling, trying to sell a better, cheaper mousetrap.
It's a buyer's market
right
now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's take advantage of it.
All right, thank you for your call, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Noah.
All right, next caller, Chris.
Well,
I'm sorry, it was Randy.
Well, Chris got wiped off the board. All right.
Chris. Oh, Chris. Okay, thank you.
Yes, hey, is it legal to carry a pistol with a concealed permit into Chickasaw Park, State Park?
It should be. It is. The question is, they may have signs that say otherwise, but it's legal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody had said they had a sign. And
if they do, I wish you'd take a picture of it and send it to me, the judge at Armed Alabama, and I'll drive out there then and take a picture, and I'll send a complaint to the Attorney General.
Okay, well, I'll go out there and check. We were talking about that today.
Yeah, I wish you would.
Yeah, we discussed that several times on previous shows about how to...
They took them down at Boutwell Auditorium yesterday because they had illegal gun signs up, and in another location.
And that's happening all over the state. So maybe next time we have a show, we can talk about the process of trying to get that removed.
Print the forms up. Randy.
Yep. Thank you, Randy.
Hey, bud.
And Randy, you're calling from Mississippi, right?
I am.
Great.
Thank you for listening.
And I'm as white can be, and I have been stopped probably more than anybody, and I carry my firearm at all times.
Absolutely.
And the biggest thing is, I don't care if you're white, brown, yellow, blue, purple, it don't matter what color you are. When that officer approaches your door, if you start doing sudden movements with your hands,
yep,
and you don't keep your hands in plain sight, you immediately put the officer on guard.
Absolutely.
He thinks you're reaching for a weapon. That puts you in a situation where you could get shot.
Absolutely.
It's common sense, people.
And you start that arguing.
I am not an officer. I never have been. But I put myself in their shoes.
Sure.
What do they think I'm doing?
And you wouldn't dream of saying, why in the F did you stop me?
Never.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's yes, sir. No, sir.
Right. Right. That's
Mr.
where.
Randy, do you have a firearm in your vehicle? Yes, sir, I do. Where is it? It's under my seat in my holster. Leave it there.
Yeah.
I keep my hands in plain sight the whole time so he knows I'm not a threat.
And if for some reason, let's say you had forgotten to pay a couple of tickets and there was a warrant out for you. It's a big mistake, but it's out there for you. You're gonna.
I'm not gonna fight.
You're gonna
I'm
peacefully
gonna get out of the vehicle
surrender
away from the firearm,
right,
so he knows I'm not a threat.
Right. You're gonna peacefully surrender. You're not gonna fight him. We got to go to the next call and get it in for the show. Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Kelly, 30 seconds.
Man.
Got to wrap it up. 30 seconds. Quick.
Okay, real quick here. I'm the owner of RugerSuperstore.com. I sell basically Ruger parts, and I got to tell you, gun sales are up, part sales, and everybody I work with in this industry has agreed that part sales have been in the dumper for the last year.
Yeah, it's been strange. It's not quite like the other gentleman. We got to run.
Thank you for your
Appreciate
call.
your call.
Appreciate your call, Kelly. Thank you for listening.
And we want to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, we want to thank our advertisers and our sponsors. We definitely want to thank David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster's at Foster's Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, Mamoon Citic at Remax Realtors, and, of course, McCoy Outdoors. If you would like to advertise your business on Armed Alabama, or if you just want to contribute to the show, please contact the radio station, or you can email us, adam@armedalabama.com or the judge at armedalabama.com. And, of course, check us out on Facebook.
So
Twitter,
long for Armed Alabama. See you next week.
All right.